Thursday, May 11th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, we're going to finish talking about E3. Let's do this! So the results are in on whether our podcast should have been 3 hours or not.
Yep, and almost no one voted.
What are you talking about? There were like 20 or so people in the forum saying, yay, make it as long as you want. The only person who said don't make it long was someone who emailed us. Absolutely every other person who responded, of which there were many, said make the podcast longer. Longer is better.
All right, then if we pay for more Libsyn, we can do that.
We could have done it without more Libsyn, you know it.
No, because then we would have to post a lot more episodes on the hosting.
Nah, we would have been fine.
We're on the edge of on the Libsyn as it is.
Nah, we're all right.
No, we're not.
But anyway, someone also asked what the longest podcast ever is, and I'm not quite sure. There wasn't something I tried like for 15 minutes to Google it, and I couldn't find it. However, someone in our forums linked to a couple podcasts that are on average pretty long, and the longest one I saw was the Bib and Yaz podcast. I have no idea what this podcast is about, but I think I saw an episode that was like 2 hours and change, or almost 3 hours. Yeah. Maybe we can find out what the longest podcast ever was, or is, and beat it just once.
That's real easy. All I have to do is use my little random tone generator and generate random tones that are 1 second longer than whatever that is and put it up.
Yeah, the thing is, that counts in a semantic argument.
Yeah, it's also real compressible, MP3-wise.
Yeah, however, the Guinness Book of World Records doesn't let you get away with stuff like that.
The Guinness Book of World Records is barely researched bullshit.
Well, it's not about research. It's about,
It's about world's blankiest blank. It's not anything to care about.
That's what it is. They put in the world's blankiest blank, and then if you think you got more blankiness, then you go and you put up a challenge, and they have rules for each blankinest blank, and then you try to beat it. It's like an ongoing contest.
I know. I just remember when I was a kid that the Guinness Book of World Records was really the lowbrow entertainment.
Oh, it was very lowbrow.
I remember when they banned...
I'm quite lowbrow.
They banned, a long time ago, all of the body-related ones because people were hurting themselves trying to set records like ate the most broken glass.
God.
Or fattest.
Oh, yeah.
I think Uribe currently has the fattest title.
Oh, Uribe.
Uribe.
Okay. So, maybe one day we'll make a long one. I don't care, but Rim seems to be anti-long podcast.
Yeah, I just generally don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I know if I were listening, I'd probably just stop listening after an hour or so. But I don't have time to listen to podcasts anyway.
Yeah, well, I think the idea is that since it's a podcast, not a radio show, that people will pause it on their iPod and then continue later.
But by the same token, by spreading it out into 2 hour-and-a-half podcasts, it saves us some effort down the road.
I guess, theoretically, but...
For all they know, we did record the whole thing that night, and we just split it up.
Yeah. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
But I just want to say that, while I don't care if we actually do long podcasts or not, if you really wanted long podcasts and you're not getting them, direct all your blame to Rim.
Yep, yell at me.
Yell at Rim. Scott, that's me. No problem with the long podcast. I'm with you.
Yeah, so if there's any problems, yell at Rim.
Yeah, meaning you. People know which one of us is which, right? Because other podcasts introduce themselves, and
everyone seems to. Anytime there's been an argument, it's like they can equate the way we speak and the things we say on the show with the things we say in the forum.
Yeah, it seems like they can do that, but...
Of course, the guy who was trying to guess what we look like based on our voices thought I was Hispanic.
Yeah, I don't know why he thought that.
Yeah.
We are clearly not Hispanic. Very, very not Hispanic. Although we like Hispanics. Hispanics are cool.
Yeah?
But we are not them. So, news time.
Yeah, in the news. Now, I got some non-E3 news here.
I also have non-E3 news because, well, there wasn't so much... Because, we're going to cover all the stuff that was E3 news as part of the main bit, so the only real E3 news we can cover is, the side news, and there wasn't so much of it. At least it wasn't prominent enough at this time for us to find it.
Yeah,
you'll see that next week all the news from all the tiny booths around E3 from the independent game developers is going to start crawling up as the Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft news is complete.
Of course, it was also, there's a lot of news that is interesting, but really isn't worth getting billing as a news bit.
Oh, clearly that's the
Like,
case
I don't know,
every day.
Paris Hilton was there with her stupid game. And
Yeah, Adam West was giving signatures.
Hey, Adam West is awesome.
Yeah,
I
but
could do
that's not a news bit.
We could do a whole show on Adam West.
Oh my god, that'd be scary. I have to show you remind me to show you an animated GIF from old Batman after the show.
Okay. But anyway, my news is something that happened and started a long time ago, but it finally ended, so that's the news. There's going to be no .xxx domain. ICANN voted it down completely. I say it's great news.
Well, see, I didn't really care about, the existence of the domain itself. I mean,
I care from a technical standpoint, not even from a porn standpoint.
As far as I'm concerned, the more top-level domains, the better.
No. The more top-level domains, the more convoluted, broken, and stupid DNS becomes.
Yeah, well, that makes it more and more likely we should get some IPv6 in the house.
That doesn't have anything to do with DNS.
I thought that IPv6 had a newer, better DNS to
What?
go with it.
What? No.
No.
DNS is completely independent of IPv6. They're different layers and everything. They have nothing to do with each
I know
other.
they don't have anything to do with each other, but I figured that when they switched to IPv6, that they
No.
would switch DNS to something newer, better.
No.
No?
Because even if they quote-unquote switch to IPv6, that's not something that would happen immediately. It would be a long, slow change.
I know that.
You can't just have a long, slow change of something like
Well, you know what we
DNS.
need to do? We need to go check for RFCs for stuff like DNS 2.0.
You know what? There's really nothing. DNS is fine.
There's no way to make that better?
There were ways to make it better, but the ways to make it better would
Have
be,
other negative side effects that suck?
or would be difficult to implement, or a lot of people will just say, fuck you, we're not changing. DNS isn't really broken or anything. It works fine. The only people who complain about it... Now, this is going to be interesting because I've noticed something about people who are first or second year IT students. Because they post a lot on Slashdot about this.
Oh.
They always, whenever DNS comes up, they always say, DNS is horrible and stupid and broken, and it's going to die anyway. It's on its last legs. We need to get rid of it. We need something better. And I've noticed that most of the reasons they give for it being broken are really just them not understanding how DNS works.
That happens with anything.
Well, it seems that because DNS, if you don't know how to set it up, and you're a freshman in IT and you're building a DNS server, it's kind of painful because you don't know the syntax of the text file you have to write. But once you learn the syntax of the text file, and then you know why it's that way and why everything is the way it is, you go, oh, all right, this is actually pretty good. It works fairly well.
Yeah, DNS works okay, but, as with any computer geek, even if you have something that works just fine, you're always looking for something that works better and awesomer.
That's very much the difference between IT and CS on a very high-level, broad, fundamental planning perspective.
Yeah, this Linux kernel's okay, but I need something else.
You haven't been to pirate kernel universe.
Yeah.
But, like, I do IT for a living. Like, Scott is CS, I am IT. We're both computer guys, but don't think that we do the same thing. We really can't do what either of us does very well.
I know more about his stuff than he knows about my stuff.
You have proven that wrong a couple times.
I know plenty about IT stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not like the master.
You couldn't even get an NTP server working.
I could. I got it working just
No,
fine.
you didn't. It didn't work, and you complained about it.
I knew how to do NTP. I just didn't know how to do super NTP.
You didn't know how to do NTP that works. You knew how to
That's
do...
the thing, is that I know how to do the basic, normal level of everything you know how to do, but just not the really good level of, super. You don't know how to do anything that I do.
What do you mean super? You couldn't make an NTP server go.
I can make an NTP server go. I just can't make it go the way I want.
How did you want it to go?
I wanted it to,
serve the time?
I wanted it to serve the time to other computers and also get the time from a different computer.
That's like the simplest. That's all NTP does. That's
Yeah,
the
but
most basic. That is a 3-line configuration file. 4 lines if you want to be fancy.
But I also wanted to have like security things so other people couldn't get the time and no one could change the time.
You know what? 5 lines.
Yeah, well, I put those lines in. I copied them from the internet. It didn't work.
Because you probably copied the wrong lines.
Yeah, we'll see. I can make a computer get the time just fine.
Anyway, the work I do is generally along the lines of make something that works and maintain it. Maintain uptime. Nothing should ever go down. Don't upgrade something unless you have to. The network never, ever, ever goes down. If it goes down, you make it come back up immediately.
And the work I do is computers don't already do X. They could do X, technologically speaking, but they don't do X. Make them do X. Make them do X better. Make them do X even better. All right, now there's a problem. They're not doing X perfectly. Make it do it perfectly. Now make it do it better.
Now these two
Keep
forces
making it do it better.
come into conflict in such situations as Rim wants the hosting to be up right now. Scott wants to put a new kernel on it.
I don't change the kernel on the hosting.
No,
I don't
we
go
don't.
that far. But, I'll make something and it'll work well. And then Rim will have to be in charge of making sure it continues to work well. And then I'll say, all right, I made a thing to make it work faster. And Rim says, does that mean we need to turn it off and then turn it on again? And Scott says, yes.
And I go, oh no, my uptime. Oh my God.
And I say, hooray, when it comes back up, it will be faster. Everyone who's sitting around while it's off can suck my dick.
Anyway.
We should skip this shit so we can get to the E3 business.
All right, there's going to be no XXX domain. I think that's great because it was a stupid idea.
I think it was a good idea, but that a law to make people use it was a bad idea. Mostly.
Well, the problem, it's stupid to have that as a top-level domain because now you're making a domain that's based on the a top-level domain based on the content of the sites, as opposed to the identities of the people who create the sites.
It's all right, so XXX domain shouldn't be for porn sites. It should be for people who are pornographers to make sites.
No, because that already exists. It's .com. Anything commercial was .com.
So why don't they have .xxx.com?
You can do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone could just buy .xxx and then sell.
Well, see, that's the thing is that, we need one in between there. So you could buy joe.xxx.com and then rim.xxx.
DNS was originally that way.
I know.
But
it's not that way anymore.
The only reason it's not that way is because people got greedy, and mostly because idiots who didn't understand DNS were in charge of companies making decisions about it. And as a result, they said, why can't I just name things whatever I want? Not understanding the technical limitations and the reasons why things were the way they were. But anyway, there's an unintended consequence of this .xxx decision. Now, for some reason, mostly fundamentalist Christians and anti-porn crusaders were advocates of this because then they wanted laws that would force quote-unquote pornography to be under this domain. Mm-hmm. That was their goal. That way they could censor it, and they wanted to screw anyone who tried to put porn elsewhere. I'm not going to argue about the definition of porn because I think we all agree. Anyway, a lot of other fundamentalist anti-porn people were against .xxx because it legitimizes porn. That group was actually stronger in the U.S., and the main reason that the U.S. was against the .xxx domain was because of the fundamentalists who are against porn. ICANN is an international body. The rest of the world saw ICANN's vetoing XXX as the U.S. pseudo-Christian fundamentalist crazies trying to exert control over the internet. And there's a lot of rumbling going on in Europe about this. Even though ICANN probably made the decision for reasons that have nothing to do with America.
Yep. People need to know about technology. There should be some sort of universal law where if you don't know about something, you are thereby prevented from making any decision about it. If you don't know about fires, you cannot be the boss of the firemen.
Yeah.
That should be the law. If you don't know anything about guns, you should not be able to do anything that has to do with any gun legislation or anything. That's the way it should be. If you don't know about technology, you have no say when it comes to a technological matter. Now, you can argue about which matter requires which, field of knowledge. I don't care about that. But you should have to know.
That's great. I got this great idealistic idea, but I don't care about the details or the actual implementation.
No, I don't care about it. That doesn't matter. That's just the specific examples I don't care about.
All right, Che Guevara.
Yeah, whatever. The point is, if you don't know about something, you shouldn't be able to say anything about it because you don't know nothing about it.
No, you're allowed to say, I don't know anything about that.
That's the only thing you're allowed to say.
Oh, you're also allowed to say, will you teach me about it?
No, you're not allowed to say that.
Why not?
Because I won't teach you. Go learn on your own from a freaking book.
Let's get to your news because I'm actually, this is something I know a lot about and I'm pissed off about.
All right, so
I can't believe this is in the news again. This was killed a long time ago.
Okay, anyway, the cover of Time magazine says something about autism. So I had seen this. How often does Scott see the cover of Time magazine, who reads no magazines and watches no TV?
Yeah.
But I happened to see it, actually, randomly. But I paid it no heed. I didn't really care. Whatever. So then I'm listening to the Penn Jillette podcast today.
Which is awesome.
It's actually a radio show that's an hour long, but they podcast it, which is cool. And he gets a Randy on the phone, and I'm like, woohoo, James Randy's on the phone, what up? And they start talking about this autism, and I'm like, all right, what are they going to say about autism? It's probably some magic hokey autism treatment, right? Nope, not some magic hokey autism treatment, although those do exist, and you shouldn't pay them any heed. Apparently, the cover story that is extremely long and prominent in the latest issue of Time magazine is very, very supportive of something called facilitated communication. And there is a Facilitated Communication Institute at Syracuse University. Now, let me tell you what this is. Because I see Rim like inhaling.
All I'm going to say is one word. Bullshit.
Yeah, okay, so you might know that autism is, I guess, a disorder that can vary in degree depending on who you are. You can be slightly autistic, which is called high
functioning, I think?
High functioning autism, which means you're kind of like a normal person, only you're a little weird, because you're a little bit autistic. So which means you can live a pretty much normal life, but people who meet you might go, hey, that guy's a little weird because he's a little bit autistic. Or you can be low-functioning autistic, which means you're super autistic and you're basically just I don't want to insult anyone who is low-functioning autistic, but you're really just like a gibbering nothing. I really, I'm not trying to be offensive. Usually I'm trying to be offensive. I'm really not trying to be offensive, but you can't communicate, you can't read or write, you can't do anything. You can make noises and flail around, and you're really not almost non-sentient.
Now, there's Asperger's, which is similar to autism, but it's generally separate, and there's still a lot of research going on. Autism and Asperger's aren't very well understood yet.
Yeah, they're not. This is something that can be figured out by science, and because it hasn't been figured out by science, there's a lot of Randy going on. Now, the main problem with high-functioning autistic kids is that, they have trouble in school because they're a little weird. And we can do a lot about that. That doesn't even require science.
Yeah. Though, keep in mind at this point, there are a lot of misconceptions about autism out there.
There sure are.
Mainly coming from the movie Rain Man.
Yeah.
Autistic does not mean super genius who just is weird.
No, it does not.
There are a few cases of people who have abilities like that. They're few and far between, and most autistic people are not secret geniuses.
That is correct.
And if you think they are, it's sad, but you're just deluding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Shivo situation where, oh, look, she's following the balloon. She's there. And then they autopsied, and there wasn't even an ocular cortex or a brain or anything.
Yep. There's just nothing. So, the problem with low-functioning autistic people is that you can't communicate with them whatsoever. They're just basically completely void of any human thinking human existence that other people can, detect.
Yeah, there's brain activity. They're thinking.
Yep.
They exist in their brain. We don't know how they exist, but they're there. It's possible that
we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know what they're doing. We don't. All we know is they're making a noise, they're moving around. It's. Yeah,
they're people, and something's going on in their brain.
They can't read, they can't write, they can't do anything.
Well, here comes facilitated communication.
Right. So, if you're imagine being a parent of a low-functioning autistic child, you're pretty much your greatest wish in the world is to communicate with this child in any way whatsoever. Facilitated Communication Institute at Syracuse University, what they do there is... let me just read this. Let me read this little paragraph here. With Chadwick helping to stabilize her right wrist and her mother watching, a girl thought to be incapable of learning to read or write slowly typed, "I love mom." With Chadwick helping to stabilize her right wrist. I'm doing the exact same thing Penn Jillette did. With Chadwick helping to stabilize her right wrist. People are taking their heavily autistic children to this institute where other completely normal people are holding the autistic child by the hand, moving their hand around on a keyboard, and Basically, it's like if I grabbed Rim's hand and I took his index finger and I pushed it down on the keyboard and make him type, Rim is gay.
You know what? If this were Penn and Teller's bullshit right now, I can just picture us doing that sort of bit or them doing that bit where it's spelling out bullshit.
Yep.
And then the typewriter comes up, ding, and then he holds it up, and then they do their next bit.
Now, here's where it gets worse. If you think that somehow these facilitators are actually not typing for the children and that they're just holding the child's hand in place so that the child can, type as they want, here is something Randy did. Randy went, and he had the facilitator leave the room. And he went to the child, and he said, basically, truck, type truck. I don't know if truck is the word, but it might have been house. Who knows? And he showed a picture of it, and he's like, truck. Then he brings the facilitator back in the room. And what does the kid type? Not truck. Type something else? Not truck. Then the kid types something really, really quickly that's like, this man is making me very angry. He needs to leave, blah, 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 blah. Right now, here's an even worse one. Are you ready? So, someone else, not Randy, did a study. Now, there have been 45 studies, and all of them has come to the same result. And the same result is the facilitators are doing the typing, not the kids. The kids cannot communicate with anyone.
Yeah, there's really no question as to whether or not this works.
45 perfect scientific studies. Ready for this study? This is the study that is absolutely convincing to everyone. Someone went in and they would show a picture, like a children's picture, to the facilitator. Then the facilitator believed that, the same picture was being shown to the child, but they switched the picture up. So they'd show a house to the facilitator, and then they'd show a truck to the kid. Then they would have the facilitator facilitate the kid in typing. 100% of the time, the kid typed the picture that was shown to the facilitator, and never did they type the picture that was shown to the child. Ever. People are fooling parents of autistic children into believing they are communicating with their autistic children when, in fact, they are communicating with some facilitator.
Now, there are two possible ways to look at this. Either the people doing the facilitating genuinely believe they're doing good. Like some of those people
I think it's the Ouija board effect.
Yeah, the ideomotor effect.
Yep.
Or perhaps even people, maybe they're con artists, but they think they're helping, They fake it, but then the parent feels better, and the kid, the parent feels like they're bonding with the kid. I love mom. Wow, look, now the mom feels like there's hope.
Mm-hmm. However, anyone who thinks the second thing is evil.
Yeah.
No hope is better than false hope. If you disagree with that, come over here. I'm going to beat you up. Because you deserve a beating.
Okay.
No hope is better than false hope. Get that through your head. If anyone disagrees, I dare you to challenge us on that. Challenge anyone on that who is not evil.
It's just really, these people, regardless of their motivation, are taking advantage of parents who really, there's nowhere they can turn. There's no treatment for autism. There's no way to help these kids.
Nope.
So
they're currently, with current science, there is no hope. You will never communicate with your child. It's sad but true. And it's much better if you figure that out right away and deal with it, as opposed to having this false hope and many, many painful emotional times through the course of your life.
Yeah, it's not to say you don't try. Still, you go to the research institutes and let them do their tests and try, but don't expect something like that.
If you get your hopes up about something in which there is no hope, you will consistently be let down, and that's much, much worse, emotionally speaking, than knowing there's no hope, and thus, when it turns out there's still no hope, you just carry on as usual. And then if something actually turns up, then you get excited.
Now, we'd be on a much different tack here if the evidence were inconclusive, or if the studies had gone both ways, or if there were any evidence at all. But
45 scientific studies, and the two I just described to you, I think, are 100% conclusive. You'd have to be an idiot to not understand what the hell is going on here. If Rim is incapable of communication with human beings, and I take his hand and move it around on a keyboard and use his index finger to push down keys that say something,
Steve-Holt.
I'm the one who's communicating, not Rim.
Steve-Holt.
Steve-Holt. There you go.
All right, things of the day. Mine isn't so much. It's a cool thing, but I don't have a lot to say about it. This awesome mirage appeared in, I think, eastern China.
Shanghai?
Of
I'm not sure.
Basically, it was a mirage of a whole city.
Yeah, I saw pictures and I was like, whoa, is that real?
Apparently, this area was called the gathering place or the dwelling place of the gods a long time ago because the region, the way the atmosphere is and the water vapor, it's just very conducive to crazy mirages and illusions.
Yeah, it's like Mirage Land. I think what it was, just a reflection of the city that was on the other side, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It was cool, though. Check it out.
I saw a picture and I was like, holy crap, a freaking mirage of real.
It made it to Dig, so I'm sure everyone's seen it already, but that's all I got. I just want to talk about E3.
Yep, my thing of the day is actually a video game. It's called Plasma Pong. And if you go to plasmapong.com, you can download it for free. And what it is, it's only for Windows, sadly. It's just Pong. You play it on the PC. But you have 2 extra things you can do in addition to moving the paddle up and moving the paddle down. You can shoot plasma out of your paddle, and you can suck plasma into your paddle.
It's not nearly as dumb as that just sounded.
No, it looks really cool, like a wicked awesome screensaver, and the gameplay is actually kind of crazy, because you have to, like... I'm trying not to say, like...
What's with you and the like?
I don't know, I like...
Yeah, you're lucky I don't have a big shield.
That's what I was going to say, because if you had a big shield, I would eat it. Like.
Yeah.
So you spray this plasma, and the higher the level you get to, the more the ball is affected by the plasma. So the ball is just flying around, never actually touching anyone's paddle, but bouncing back and forth across the screen in the plasma, and you have to manipulate the plasma in such a way to get it to fly really fast off the other guy's side of the screen so he can't stop it.
Windows only, but if I get it to work in Wine, I'll let everyone know and tell them how to do it.
It seems like a pretty simple game. It should work nicely, and
Yeah.
it looks really cool.
You know what the rule of Wine is? Rule number 1, it will not work. Rule number 2...
Well, the final rule of Wine is if by some miracle you manage to get it to work, it will work better than it works in Windows.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about Wine.
Yeah, that's just things either work or they don't, and there's really no middle ground with Wine.
No, not so much. All right, last time on our E3 coverage, we talked about Sony, and we talked about the DS, and we pretty much covered everything in those departments.
And nothing has changed in those departments.
Yeah, thankfully, because I was kind of worried that we were going to do this big E3 show, and then all this new information would come out on the show floor, and we'd have to go back and add all that stuff in.
That is true for Nintendo, but we didn't talk about Nintendo yet.
Nintendo and the Nintendo Wii and the Microsoft Xbox 360, there was some new tidbits on the show floor.
Yeah, actually there was a lot for Nintendo.
Oh, a whole lot. More than anyone else, at least.
Well, in general, here's the general vibe of what's going on at E3. There are crazy, crazy lines for everything Nintendo has constantly.
You have to wait in line for, I think the guess was 6 hours to play with a Wii.
I can play with a Wii right now for free.
I know. I don't know why people are waiting in 6 hour lines to do it.
That'd be one hell of a Wii.
One guy was at his first E3 and he got in the Wii line and he says, I'm not wasting 6 hours on my first E3. And he just said, I just won't use the Wii at E3. I'll do everything else instead. But yeah, it really sucks for the journalists who have to use it to,
Yeah, now compare and contrast that to Sony and Microsoft. Where
at Sony and Microsoft booths, the people were estimating you had to wait maybe 5 minutes to play anything you wanted.
Anything.
Any game that was playable at Microsoft's or Sony's booth, 5-minute wait.
Other than
Nintendo, 6 hour wait to use the Wii.
Other than panels going around, E3 is basically just a cluster of people fighting to get into Nintendo's area at all times and nothing else.
And this, people accuse us of being anti-Sony, pro, whatever. We tell it like it is. If we were biased or anything, we'd be saying, Microsoft sucks, even though they're not sucking so much right now.
Yeah, because I really didn't like the Xbox when it came out, but I'm starting to take a shine, and the fact that I might buy one is kind of scary to me.
Yeah, when you listen to us talk, we are going to say some fanboyish things like, oh my god, we really like that, it's awesome. Like, you may not like WarioWare's smooth moves, but that's our favorite thing in the world. So you can tell, okay, they really like WarioWare, and you might not. But pay attention when we say things like, there's a 6 hour wait for Nintendo, and there's a 5 hour wait for Sony and Microsoft. That's not fanboyism opinion, that's a fact.
Well, it's like
Interpret
it's
the
like
meaning
the PSP
of that
thing.
At will. Now,
I mean, we kept talking about the PSP like we never see anyone playing
You
it.
said like.
Yeah. Well, but I used it properly. I didn't use it as a breakup. We see things like. That's a proper grammatical use of the word like.
That's fine. Let's get on with the show so we can go to sleep.
All right, because there's people arguing about the PSP, and I wanted to get this out.
All right, get it out now before we start.
The fact is that at E3, no one has PSPs. Reporters have said this. Everyone has DSs, and they're playing them constantly.
That's a fact. That's not, I said
That was great. All right, I guess we can't talk about this, Mr.
Interpret that fact as you will, but there are DSs everywhere and PSPs nowhere to be seen at E3, the premier gaming event of the year. There are DSs all over the place and no PSPs to be seen except for Sony's booth.
All right, so let's start at the beginning with Nintendo, because I don't want to start with the stuff that was just announced.
Well, I was figured we would do the system and then we do the games for the Wii.
All right.
Well, no, let's start out with the GameCube. There's going to be a new GameCube game at the end of the year.
Great.
Super Paper Mario.
Oh, my God.
Now, if you played Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, you know that, or any Paper Mario, you know that Paper Mario is a Mario RPG type game. And the interesting thing about it is that Mario and all his friends are made of paper, and the world is made of paper. So they do a lot of interesting tricks, like Mario will tear a hole in the background and he'll sneak through a secret, or he'll roll himself up like a piece of, or fold himself into a paper airplane and fly and such.
The games are also real heavy on the Nintendo style humor / world,
which we like a lot.
Yeah,
lots of Mario jokes.
Nothing's better than a cute little girl Goomba.
Yeah, cute girl archaeologist Goomba.
Yeah.
Now, in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, there was a short sequence where Koopa, King Koopa, did some Super Mario 1 style side-scrolling. And he ate a giant piece of meat and became the size of the screen and smashed up a whole bunch of stuff. But you controlled that for maybe 5 minutes of the game and that was it.
Yeah.
Super Paper Mario is not going to be an RPG. It's going to be a Super Mario platform game. However, everything is made of paper and has the same graphics that Thousand Year Door has. And you can play as Mario, the Princess, and Koopa, who each do their own different things.
Ooh, it's like a Mario 2.
It's going to be a really good... Well, I think you switch between them at will. At least I saw a video where Mario flipped over and the Princess appeared. Like in the middle of a level.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I saw Koopa breathing some fire. And the best thing about this game is there is apparently a power-up that not only makes you tremendously huge, filling the screen, but when you use this power-up, it returns the character to their 8-bit pixelated sprite, as opposed to the new shiny Paper Mario sprite. So imagine a giant Super Mario Brothers Princess Peach or King Koopa that's like the size of the screen smashing everything. That's worth it alone for whatever this game costs.
Whee!
So that's the GameCube news. One new game going to come out at the end of the year. Oh, also the Zelda game that everyone knows about will have a GameCube version.
Yeah, Twilight Princess is going to be released at the same time, but separately on both the Weevolution and the GameCube.
Yeah, people thought that there would be one GameCube, because they said it's going to be a GameCube game. They said that, and they didn't lie. But people thought that there would be a GameCube version that if you played the GameCube version on the Wii, you would get advanced features. Sort of like Zelda Ages and Seasons for the Game Boy Color. If you played it on a Game Boy Advance, a few secret things showed up. That's not going to be the case. The Zelda game is going to have a Wii version and a GameCube version. You buy one or the other. If you buy both, you're just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a GameCube and you're not planning on buying a Wii for a long time, that's the only way I can recommend buying the Zelda GameCube.
Now, we don't really need to talk about this game. Everyone knows it looks like it's going to be awesome. Several Nintendo people have said things along the lines of, we think this is the best Zelda we've ever made.
Yeah, but that's what they said, and people had mixed reactions to them saying that. Some people were like, okay, this is going to be the best Zelda ever, and some people said, okay, they're being real defensive about this Zelda being so great.
Yeah, I don't know. The game looks really cool.
It looks like Zelda. It looks like what everyone wanted Wind Waker to be, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it looks like Zelda 64 taken to the technological and plot extreme.
All I can hope is that it has more dungeons. That was my number one complaint with the recent Zelda games is not enough dungeons.
Freaking Minish Cap had 3.
Freaking Wind Waker had like 4 or 5. You need more dungeons. I want to see SNES style Zeldas where there's like 4 dungeons followed by 8 dungeons. Stuff like that. That's what we need. Lots and lots of dungeons. That's what makes Zelda great. A big overworld, lots and lots of dungeons. Okay. Let's talk about the Wii system and what they said about it in Nintendo's press conference.
The conference they had was pretty cool.
They had it in the Kodak Theater, which is the place they have the Oscars.
Now, it started basically with Miyamoto in a tuxedo with a Wii controller conducting an orchestra playing The Legend of Zelda.
But the orchestra wasn't real. The orchestra was a part of a video game. And as he moved the controller differently, you could see that he was controlling the tempo of the orchestra.
Yeah,
with the Wii controller.
I'll say now that almost everything they showed was not a pre-rendered demo where they faked it. It was someone controlling something with the controller.
People were saying how the Metroid stuff that they showed was a video and not, someone actually playing the game at that moment. But it didn't look like a pre-render. It looked like actual gameplay video footage.
Yeah. Now the crowd went wild.
Yeah, the crowd is, crazy. Okay, so, the Wii. What do we know about the Wii that we didn't know before? Well, they confirmed a bunch of rumors. There is going to be a speaker in the Wii controller. What does this mean? It means when you use the Wii controller as a gun and pull the trigger on it, the Wii controller itself will make a firing noise. Now, that's kind of cool, but what's the use? Now, I figured this out when someone, started talking about it on, I think might have been the Engadget podcast. They were like, okay, you have a Wii controller, right? Let's say you're shooting a bow and arrow. Now, when you're shooting a real bow and arrow, you have a string. You know how far back you're pulling it. You can hear the string getting tighter and tighter. With a Wii controller, just pulling it back, you can't really tell how far back you've pulled it. And looking at the screen, you can't tell because it's a first-person view.
Twang.
So the speaker in the Wii controller is actually necessary because it will make a noise as you pull the bowstring back to let you know how far back you are.
Also, when I finally get my lightsaber game, because I have no doubt that there's going to be some sort of lightsaber game.
LucasArts said, we're looking into it. That's all the news we've got.
My Wii is going to be going, wow, wow. And that's just awesome.
See, I didn't even think, no one thought of having that speaker, but Nintendo thought of it, and now that you know about it, it's so essential.
I mean,
it's so key.
Imagine all the Mario Party WarioWare minigames you can have where one guy's controller makes a noise and everyone reacts because of that. Mm-hmm. Or you got to guess whose controller made the noise, or do something.
Someone suggested that you would talk into a microphone on the controller, then pass the controller. Someone would push a button, and the controller would play back what you said. Then they'd have to say that into the controller and pass it around like a game of telephone. And silly things could happen.
It's like they put so many things into this so that developers making games have crazy options to do whatever they want to do.
Yup, the problem is when developers try to use all the options instead of just trying to make a game that really needs the options.
Yep, which luckily seems to have worked out for the DS. I mean,
a lot of early DS games have made the error of forcing themselves to use every feature.
Yeah, like Bomberman. Bomberman used the touchscreen in perhaps the stupidest way ever.
Yeah, but now they're coming back, and it seems people realized what's good and what's not. So it shouldn't take them... I don't imagine too many screw-ups on the Wii now that they figured it out on the DS.
Yeah.
Okay. What don't we know about the Wii?
The price.
We don't know the price, and we don't know the release date, other than it will be in October, November, December of this year.
Now, once again, Nintendo is probably going to stick to their promise that it'll be less than $250, or less than $300 no matter what.
I think the only promise was it'll be cheaper than anything else.
Yeah.
So it could be $300, but...
I really doubt that.
I really doubt it also. Everyone's best guess is $200, $250.
Yeah, someone on Slashdot was like, if it was $150, that would just destroy the industry.
It might. I think they're just waiting to see what the final word is on everything else before they decide how they can set their price.
Yeah.
They probably already know the price. They're probably just waiting to reveal it. That way they can keep the news rolling.
That's what I was about to say. They're probably... Because right before E3, they announced that they're calling it the Wii. And there was crazy press buzzing. Then E3, crazy press buzzing. Then they announce Smash Brothers, crazy press buzzing. Then they're going to announce the date, crazy press. Then they're going to announce the price. And they're always in the news.
Until finally, it's release day. Plus, they also get to announce pre-orders are now available, There's a lot of things they just announce to keep the news rolling.
Yep, as opposed to Sony, we're going to release the PS3 in March. We're going to release it in not March.
Yeah. I don't know what's better, saying a date and then delaying it and then saying another exact date and then eventually sticking to one of those exact dates, or not saying anything and then eventually sticking to a date.
Apple seems to do very well with the, hey, guess what we just did, as opposed to, hey, guess what we're doing.
It's available on the Apple Store as soon as we stop talking.
Yep, like when the Apple Store goes down, everyone knows, uh-oh, something just happened.
Yep. What else do we know about the Wii? There won't be any load times. He's promised us no load times.
Now that's great. I mean, even the GameCube had a few load times in some games, but those are tiny.
Yeah, I think it was mostly the load times I've noticed in games I have were where there were FMVs and basically FMVs.
Yeah, and it seems that third-party port games have load games much more often than first-party games or second-party games.
Yep. I think because of the flash memory in the Wii, you're not going to see load times at all, unless someone really, really sucks.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Wii Classic controller. It looks like this white Super NES controller.
It's like a cross between an SNES controller and a GameCube controller.
But it's all white and Wii colored, and
people who have held onto it said that it feels right.
Yeah, it looks like it feels right. I guess you're going to use it for your virtual console games. Your old school NES games and all that.
Which they finally released some pictures and talk about.
The only thing it's weird about this controller is that it isn't wireless. You plug it into the bottom of the Wii controller where the nunchuck usually plugs into. And I guess, does that mean you're kind of tethered to the Wii? Is there going to be something that lets you use both at once or switch between the two? Or I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of tiny details we're really not going to get until we get closer to the release date.
Someone made a comment that Nintendo always screws up one little thing that doesn't matter. Like, on the NES, they screwed up, you have to blow into the cartridges.
Yeah.
On the SNES, I don't think anything was screwed up.
You know what was wrong with the SNES?
The eject button?
No, because I had no problem with that, though I know a few people did, but you could just yank the game out. It didn't matter.
That's true.
Not all the SNESs, because they fixed it later, but a lot of them, if you left them in the sun, they turned this horrible yellow.
That's true.
Because of the plastic.
That's not a big deal.
No.
The N64 didn't have enough memory. They had to add an expansion thing. The GameCube. What problems with the GameCube?
I can't think of any.
Yeah, I guess not.
Some people early on said it overheated, but it just turned out they were idiots.
Yeah. The DS the DS Lite has a problem with the GBA cartridge not fitting all the way in.
Yeah, but I mean that one at least is understandable because they wanted it to be small, and that seems to be what people wanted.
Yep, the GBA, the screen didn't have a light. People complained.
Yeah, I remember the Penny Arcade that came out the day after the GBA came out.
Yeah, so the problem with the Wii is that the classic controller is going to have to plug into the bottom of the normal controller. Oh well.
Yeah, though from the looks of the virtual console, I mean, they showed screenshots of where when you play a game, it'll show you a screen where it shows, here's what all the buttons are mapped to, and you can probably change them.
Yep. The Wii controller is going to rumble. Take that, Sony.
Yeah. Now think about that. Not only because it make noise, not only is it perfectly tuned spatially to this console, but it rumbles.
So when you get hit, it goes, when you hit your sword against the other guy's sword, you feel it go ding.
And it goes ding!
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
The nunchuck thing, this is a rumor that was confirmed, will basically be equivalent to the PlayStation 3 controller. It can't tell where you're aiming it, but it can tell when you tilt it and move it around. That's good for a lot of video games. I imagine using it to dodge or throw offhand weapons.
Yeah.
The Wii will have the Opera web browser eventually, just like the DS will real soon.
Yes. I really want it for the DS. Like, I
don't know why I need it on the Wii. I have a computer plugged into my TV.
Yeah, well,
I guess
most
for people who
don't.
don't have a computer plugged into their TV, this will be useful.
Most people don't. I mean, we're really the minority.
Yeah, and I guess it'll be really easy to use because you can just aim the Wii controller at the links and click on them. It also, I think, will be cool because you'll visit the Nintendo website and such with your Nintendo product, and they could make some hookups in that department. Maybe some sort of web integration, sort of like Microsoft has with the Xbox 360. Here's one that people seem to be confused about, and I'm going to try to shed as much light as I can as possible. Wii Connect 24. The Wii is never going to be turned off, basically. You're always going to have it on. It'll always be connected to the internet and powered on. Even when you turn it off, it'll be a little bit on.
Now, I know when the PlayStation 2 came out, people had a lot of trouble with the fact that once you plugged it in and turned on that switch in the back, it was always on with you basically just suspended it.
Yep.
The red light, green light. But people didn't understand that, and they would always turn their PS2 off hard, which wasn't good for it.
No, not good at all.
Yeah, though Nintendo is doing a lot more than just leaving it in suspend mode.
Yes. Not only will leaving it in suspend mode allow you to turn it on quicker, so boot time will be almost, even less existent. Not that there was boot time on the GameCube or anything.
It'll be doing stuff.
Yeah, so the kind of stuff they talked about is games can get patched and updated, and new things will be unlocked without you having to wait for them because they'll just happen when you're not using the Wii or using the Wii's network connection.
Yeah, say you're online and Nintendo decides, all right, because it's, I don't know, pick a holiday.
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah Harry. They're gonna add a Hanukkah Harry thing to Smash Brothers for anyone who has it, and they just do it on Hanukkah.
Yep.
Whee!
And they do it the night before Hanukkah when you're not playing your Wii.
And
your
Hanukkah
Wii's
Harry
still
sleeps
on,
in and kills the little kids. Or
Hanukkah
whatever,
Harry sneaks in, that's it.
Whatever he does.
The example they gave was for Animal Crossing, that you would have your Animal Crossing village, I guess, would always be sort of on a little bit. So if someone sent you some Animal Crossing messages while you weren't playing Animal Crossing, they would just come in because the Wii's always on. So they'd be downloaded whenever. And then the next time you played Animal Crossing, there they would be. Look at that.
That's huge. I mean, I'm not a fan of those games so much anymore. Not so much because I don't think they're cool, but because I don't have time for that crap.
Yeah, I don't have time for Animal Crossing, though I think I might play it once because I'm a little bit interested in some of the stuff I don't know about it.
Yeah, those are the kind of games that I used to play religiously when I was a kid, but now I can't do it.
I can't deal with it.
I can't even deal with SimCity 2000 anymore. It just takes too long.
Yeah, I just cheat.
But I think this is huge, just that the Animal Crossing people and the people who like these games are a big segment of the market now.
Animal Crossing sold crazy in Japan. The Animal Crossing DS sold crazy in Japan. Crazy.
And it sold really well in the US too. The fact that people could wirelessly interact their cities was this crazy thing for people.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the Wii and your city is always there.
And it says on the Nintendo website, something we already knew, is that the Wii can connect to the DS. Now, they haven't given an example of anyone doing this yet, but they did say that it's technologically possible. So you can just wait for Animal Crossing DS plus Animal Crossing Wii kind of action going on.
Or, the ultimate Uber extension of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, where you have a DS and there's your TV. All wireless and all online with other people.
They'll make some cable that goes from the DS to the bottom of the Wii controller or something. Okay. So that's pretty much the story with the Wii.
Yeah, everyone seems to like it. The games they've demoed and the games they've got there, people are raving about.
Let's talk about all the games for the Wii.
All right. They've got this sports game.
Now, my opinion of this sports game is it's called Wii Sports. It's got tennis, golf, and baseball.
I think it's a great idea to have them bundled like this. It's very much the see what the Wii can do game.
Yeah, it's sort of like how you have Solitaire that originally came with Microsoft Windows because everyone had been using DOS and no one knows how to use a mouse. So they put out Solitaire that came with Windows, which you would no doubt want to try right away because it's a game, and you would learn how to use the mouse by playing Solitaire. Wii Sports is the same thing. You learn how to use the Wiimote by playing Wii Sports.
Plus, it looks fun.
Mm-hmm. I really think, though, that they should bundle Wii Sports with the Wii. It should be a free game that comes with the system. I mean, this isn't something people are going to pay $50 for. Maybe $20.
Yeah, I could see them if they don't bundle it, selling it for $15.
But think about it. Every time Nintendo has released a new peripheral that no one knew how to use, the Zapper, they put out Duck Hunt. The Super Scope, they came with the Super Scope 6.
Yep. The mouse came with Mario Paint.
The mouse came with Mario Paint. The Power Pad came with Track and Field. Now, this is a new peripheral that's coming with a system, so it's a little bit different than a peripheral coming out on its own. But the Wiimote should come with Wii Sports to teach you how to use the Wiimote.
Plus, think about what that would do in the market. It's been a long time since consoles came with games.
Oh, yeah. Well, what usually happens nowadays is the original console comes without a game, and then later on they release bundle packs. Like now, if you buy a GameCube, I think it comes with Metroid Prime or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There are different ones you can get. Like you can get the Pokemon GameCube that comes with Pokemon XD or whatever it's called.
I just remember when I got my NES, and it came with Mario Brothers Duck Hunt.
Mine came with Mario Duck Hunt and the Red Zapper.
Yeah, Red Zapper.
Yeah, Red Zapper. All right, there's one called Project Hammer, and it's actually made by Nintendo. And this game,
I don't know what to say about this game.
all
You hit things with a hammer.
Yeah, you basically, someone said, hey, you know what would be really awesome? If you could swing a hammer around. Everyone wants to just run around smashing stuff. Let's make a game where all you do is run around smashing shit with a hammer.
For some reason, I keep picturing Communist Mario.
I guess,
with
yeah.
that big-ass hammer.
I think that's what this game is. There was one game, I think actually, this game they didn't show actual footage of. I guess I was wrong before. This is one game where all they showed were pre-rendered FMVs, it was something disaster, which looked like every disaster movie ever. It rolled into one. I don't know how the game works. I don't know anything about it. I think you manage disaster recovery teams or something.
Yeah, I didn't really look into that one.
Super Mario Galaxy.
All right, they've said more than once it's not going to be a launch game.
Yep, it's probably going to come out soon after, though. It'd be sort of like how Super Mario Brothers wasn't a launch game for the NES.
Yeah. Most people don't really remember.
And Sunshine wasn't a launch game for the GameCube.
Yeah. The launch game for the GameCube was Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, which is all right, but it wasn't long enough at all.
Yeah, it was definitely more a tech demo than a game.
Yep. But yeah, Super Mario Galaxy looks like a really fun, awesome Mario game.
Yeah, I mean, just watching the scenes from playing the game, it just looks badass.
It looks like they took the good parts of Super Mario Sunshine and left out the bad parts and put them in this game, you know.
Because the only part I liked about Mario Sunshine, really, were those QB, you go into the tube or the whatever to the weird
secrets.
Place. Yeah.
Secret of the blankety blank.
Yeah, where you have to run through, there's like a rotating cube and then a bunch of platforms moving around.
The part where you didn't have your little water pack and it was all platforming.
I didn't like that water pack.
No. So this Super Mario Galaxy looks like it's going to be the, cool part of Mario Sunshine with using the Wiimote, which is ++. We'll see how it actually turns out. All we've seen are some, in-game footages, but at least there weren't bullshots.
It looks like it'll be real intuitive to play.
All right, next up, the ultimate party game, not Mario Party, WarioWare Smooth Moves.
Now, way back when WarioWare came out for the Game Boy, I thought, that looks dumb.
I didn't think it looks dumb. I said that looks interesting. It's worth about $10 because it's a bunch of really, really tiny games.
Once they made the GameCube multiplayer one, that was crazy. That was better than Mario Party.
Yeah. WarioWare on its own isn't so fun. It's just something to sort of pass the time, busy work, as much as Brain Games is or any of those other ones. But WarioWare multiplayer all of a sudden is an amazing thing.
I mean, we have all these memories of going to the shore in Wildwood and sitting around in the beach house just playing WarioWare long into the night.
It's really no better party game than WarioWare. So WarioWare with a Wii controller that has you hula dancing and lassoing and jumping and lifting. And so now instead of 4 people sitting around with GameCube or Game Boys controllers sitting in front of the TV pushing buttons going, oh, Warioed, which is a lot of fun. Now people are going to be dancing around the room, jumping and swinging and all kinds of craziness. I can only imagine.
This is going to be fantastic.
All right, here's one game that sort of surprised me. Excite Truck.
It looks fun.
Apparently, when I first saw it, I said, oh, there's some random truck game. Then Reggie said it was Excite Truck, and I was like, what?
It's a Nintendo game.
You control it with the Wiimote, and you tilt the Wiimote to steer the truck, and there's a boost button and whatnot.
That's one genre that Nintendo's been lacking for a long time. Semi-realistic or non-Mario Kart racing games.
That's really the reason I want a 360 or a PS3, probably a 360, or maybe a PS2, is to get the Gran Turismos and the Forzas and the real racing games.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo doesn't have them.
I mean, F-Zero was fun, and it is a racing game, but it's not that kind of racing game.
Yeah, it's a different kind of racing game that you also need. You know, I think Burnout is the competitor for F-Zero, if I'm correct. But anyway, this is another kind of racing game, which is sort of the off-road, you know, high-jumping, freewheeling racing game. And there really wasn't one of these that was ever any good, in my opinion. And this one, actually, a lot of people at E3 say this is the most fun Wii game they played. So now my hopes are kind of up on this one, where previously they were lukewarm.
Yeah. Now, Red Steel.
Oh, you want to talk about Red Steel?
I want to talk about Red Steel
Red
because
Steel
it's gotten a lot of
is the
hype.
game that everyone wants to play. It has the longest line at E3.
Yeah, I mean, they showed original screenshots. They talked about the concept, and I thought, all right, that looks cool. Now that I've seen more and more of the gameplay, this game looks like it's going to be badass.
It's basically an FPS where you use the Wiimote to control the gun or the sword.
Sword.
Yeah.
Whee!
Link's going to have the sword, too.
Yeah. But the game looks like there's a lot of fighting, but there's also a lot of like plot figuring things out. They said they likened it. A lot of people have likened it to Half-Life in terms of the plot is integrated into the game.
Nah, I didn't see that so much.
I saw that because apparently one of the big parts of the game is you'll be fighting like a boss, and you have to choose. Like, say you beat him in the sword fight, and he's knocked his sword away. Do you kill him or spare him? And then the consequences.
That didn't seem... When I saw it, because I watched it...
They said specifically that is one of the scenarios in the game.
Yeah, I saw the scenario in the game, and it didn't look to me like there were any plot consequences. It was just... You didn't choose to do either way, you know. The guy shot the guards, and then the boss cowered, which is... It's less... It seemed to me like it was less a thing about plot. I didn't see plot at all. It seemed to me more of the bad guys in the game act like real people as much as they can. A big mafia boss, if you shoot his guards, doesn't keep trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Like in so many games, Time Cop, etc., etc. The mafia boss goes, "Oh shit, this guy just hosed my guards," and he cowers behind the desk. That's what it's about.
But I've seen a lot of comments from people who played it who said that it looks like it's going to be like Half-Life. Many people have said those words.
All right, we'll see. I haven't seen.
I want to play this game because I want to see. I want to see exactly what it is.
I think people just want it because it's a violent FPS type game, and there aren't any other games in the same genre taking advantage of the Wiimote in the same way at this time that we know about.
Well, we'll see.
You know, I'm sure that later FPS run-around killing guy games will be much better than Red Steel. Anyway, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Metroid Prime 1 was awesome. Metroid Prime 2 was more of the same, which is awesome, but it wasn't more awesome. Metroid Prime 3, I'm pretty sure will be more awesome. Hooray! I'll buy every Metroid game, no matter what it is, pretty much. Except for Metroid Prime Pinball.
Yeah, I was about to say, you didn't buy the pinball game.
I'm not gonna buy the pinball game.
I'd buy it for $5.
Okay, yeah, I'd buy it for $5.
There aren't many games I wouldn't buy for $5 that are made by Nintendo.
Yeah. So Metroid Prime 3 is gonna be awesome. FFCC Wii, not so much info on this one.
Yeah.
But it's going to exist.
Of course, it's also supposed to exist for the DS.
Yep. I don't know. I hope there's some sort of tie together. I really hope.
I would assume there will be.
There's got to be.
I mean, they've been very, and in general, Nintendo seems to be very forward thinking about their tie-togethers, and they'll have tie-togethers between games that were released fairly far apart.
Yeah, but no one has still beaten the old Sonic and Knuckles tie together. No one. Resident Evil Wii.
A lot of people have said that looks badass.
Well,
I keep saying the words badass.
Well, here's the thing: is as far as I know, Resident Evil 4 people say was awesome. Every Resident Evil is out for the GameCube. Every single Resident Evil ever is available on the GameCube. Resident Evil 5 is supposedly going to be a PS3 exclusive, I heard. But I've seen it announced for the PS3, and I haven't seen it announced for the Wii or the GameCube. So, the question is Resident Evil Wii, Resident Evil 5 with Wii commands, or is it a different Resident Evil with Wii command?
I really think it's going to be a different Resident Evil.
I think it is.
It's a good move for the people who make Resident Evil, because then they'll just sell more games.
Yep. I guess it's going to be really cool. You know, you sneak around the house instead of, just the old school way, and then, you shoot the zombies, and zombies jump out. And now when you're scared, if you get scared in a Resident Evil game, you go, but you don't, in your shriekingness, jiggle the controller and lose your aim. But with a Wiimote in your hands, if you get surprised, you might drop that thing on the floor or something. Oh my God. It is going to get really good. Okay, 2 more Wii games left. Trauma Center Wii, a.k.a. Trauma Center Second Opinion, I think it was called.
Yeah, I think that's a really clever title.
Really clever name. The first game for the DS was good. It had some problems, meaning it was too hard.
It was Nintendo hard.
Yeah. So if I ever beat that one and I decide I want more of that, I'll get the Wii one. And the last one, the one that I'm looking forward to probably more than any of the others, Duck Hunt Wii.
Yep. Now, I've heard rumors that there's no dog in it.
No, that's... I watched a video of it, and the video, which seemed to be a prototype of Duck Hunt Wii and not a complete Duck Hunt Wii, had no dog.
There'd better be a goddamn dog.
Now, here's the thing about Duck Hunt Wii that kind of makes me go, eh. If I'm playing Duck Hunt Wii, I really need to have a gun with sights on it. Now, at the Nintendo booth, there is this sort of display holster they're showing where you insert the Wii controller into it, and it gives it a trigger, and you hold it like a gun. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because a lot of people speculated that they'd make something like that, and sure enough they did.
Sure enough they did. Who knows if that'll be the final thing that's available, but whatever.
I'm sure they'll test it a lot.
The thing is, the video of Duck Hunt Wii shows 2 ducks, or a bunch of ducks and targets and clays flying around, and 2 people are trying to shoot them at the same time, which is way cool, because now you have competitive duck hunt. The thing is, you see these crosshairs floating around the screen. Now, just watching the screen, I couldn't really see myself playing Duck Hunt that way. That's really hard to use a crosshair to kill the ducks. I really need to have a sight on the Wii controller.
Yeah, crosshairs in games like that kind of screw me up.
They screw me up big time. They might, other people might be okay with it. I might be able to get used to it. But if I'm playing a gun game, I need to have a sight on the gun, and I need to aim at the screen.
Though we'll see, one, if it's a prototype, if it changes or if that's an option.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't tell... I don't think the Wii sensor can figure out your screen and if you're aiming exactly at the duck, so I don't think a sight would actually work on the device. That's the thing.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be okay. I'll play it in a store before I buy it.
Now, of course, there was the game they announced after there.
Oh, yeah.
We should probably talk about that.
You mean the game they announced today? Or last night?
Yeah, the game that I went, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Well, originally, at the Tokyo Game Fair, I don't remember when, they said that Smash Brothers Wii, or Revolution, would be a launch title that would be playable online. At the Nintendo press conference the other day, they didn't say a goddamn thing about Smash Brothers.
Not a word.
When it was over, I said, where the fuck's the Smash Brothers you promised, you promise breakers, you? And
Here
they didn't break their promise. Smash Brothers Brawl was shown, videos of it. Well, actually, these were pre-renders with very little gameplay.
But it did show some gameplay.
Yup, were shown yesterday.
It looks like they didn't screw it up at all. It looks like the same gameplay.
It looks like awesome Smash Brothers. And, of course, the key to any Smash Brothers title is the new characters.
All right. Not only there are a bunch of new characters, not only is it possible there will be more characters in addition to the ones they just announced.
No, not possible. Guaranteed to be more characters than...
All right, fine. You know what? The Smash Brothers dude was talking like, yeah, we've got a lot of ideas. Like, they asked him in an interview, all right, if there was one character you would have added to this game, who would it be? And he was like, we're still adding characters.
Yeah.
If there was a character we'd add him.
There is a poll going on in Japan asking the Japanese people what characters to add, and people think the poll is going to come over here next.
All right. There's so many characters. The thing is, they got the character I wanted the most.
Oh, okay. Let's start with Meta Knight.
Meta Knight is awesome.
If you don't know who Meta Knight is, you've never played Kirby. Meta Knight is basically this little guy who's the same shape of Kirby, but he's a knight. Like, with a sword, and I don't think he has a shield, but he has a mask, and he's really badass. So, that's going to be awesome, that guy.
Yes.
Pit.
from Kid Icarus, a game that is mostly forgotten to Nintendo fans.
No, this is a game that is very remembered among Nintendo fans, but has been neglected, just as Metroid was for a while, just as Earthbound was. And it seems that Nintendo has this trend of a game is long lost and forgotten by, seemingly long lost and forgotten by Nintendo. The fans are still desperate for more of this game. They put the character in Smash Brothers, then they released the actual games. They put Roy and Marth in Smash Brothers, and they came out with Fire Emblem.
I would bet money.
They put Samus in Smash Brothers, they came out with Metroid Prime.
I would bet money there's going to be a new Kid Icarus game on the Wii.
There's got to be a Kid Icarus game on the Wii where you use the Wiimote to shoot arrows.
That's going to be so awesome.
It's going to happen, I can guarantee it.
Kid Icarus is one of my favorite old games, even though I'm not going to pretend. Kid Icarus was hard as fuck. It was harder than any game.
Holy crap, is that game hard.
I never, ever beat it legitimately from start to finish. It was just too hard.
I can barely beat the first couple levels legitimately.
I can get to level 2-4.
Whoa, we should play it and
We
try
should.
to get good at it.
We should. I've tried to get good at it. You can't with those freaking graphics gamepads we have.
We'll go get some Xbox controllers.
Yeah.
If you buy an
We're going to buy an Xbox controller to play an emulation of an NES game.
Fine, then we'll get an Xbox 360 also. Maybe we'll be able to play Kid Icarus in the Virtual Console on our Wii.
You know what? I guarantee we will.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, I got one thing to say about this. Because actually, Scott, when there was a quiz on sprites a while ago, he did not recognize a character who was from Kid Icarus, which I thought was a travesty. I note that if Pit is in Super Smash Brothers, I guarantee, there is going to be an eggplant wizard somewhere in Super Smash Brothers doing something bad.
We'll see.
There is going to be some sort of someone gets turned into an eggplant.
Maybe there'll be an eggplant item.
That would be awesome.
All right. Samus without her suit on is now a character in Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yeah, it's hot.
Real hot. I think that might be my new favorite character to use, because I used to use Samus. Now I'll use Samus without a suit.
Plus, Samus without a suit, the way they showed us straight up what she looks like this time. And this is the best representation of...
We always knew what she looked like since the first Metroid.
Yeah, but that was such a pixely... Alright, it's a barely recognizable woman
So you
shape.
play Metroid 2 and you see what she looks like. And you play Super Metroid, and you see the same...
Yeah.
She looks the same.
But now it's good. It's really good.
And then we saw in every other Metroid game what she looks like. There was no mystery about it.
I never saw any of those Metroids. I never played any of those.
Well, then you suck.
I actually don't like Metroid games that
Every
much.
single Metroid game shows you what she looks like in some way.
I beat Metroid
Except for
1.
maybe Metroid Pinball. I don't even know, because I haven't played
the
that
only one I've seen of hers, I saw her in Metroid 1, and that's it. I never really played any other Metroid until I got the DS one.
Well, she's all over the place.
I've been playing Zero Mission. That's about it.
Yep. Which is the same as Metroid 1, plus a little bit.
She had some kind of lightsabery sword thing that looked cool in the FMV.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Maybe it'll be in Metroid Prime 3.
Yeah.
Got to throw a sword into every game now that we have a Wiimote. Wiimote, got to put a sword in every game. People love swinging swords.
At some point, it's going to be Luke and Darth Vader fighting, and it's going to be awesome.
At some point, yes, I'll be Darth Vader.
I'll be Darth Vader.
Screw you.
It'll be Darth Vader versus Darth Vader.
I'll have to use my nunchuck to give you the, neck grip of death.
All right, so then Wario.
Wario, it might be hard to resist using Wario.
Yeah, because not only do they show him
Safety.
farting in the video, not only did Scott just fart in my room, but in the interview with the Smash Brothers guy, they asked the question, so is Wario going to have his fart power? And the answer, I believe, was, of course.
Someone actually asked that.
Yeah.
Where is he? When I have a lot of Wario games, and I'm a big Wario fan. When does Wario fart?
He farts a lot in WarioWare Touched, I know that.
Ah.
And I think in some of the story things in the GameCube one, it shows him farting.
Oh, I never played that GameCube one. I heard it was actually kind of bad.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I got to go play it and find out. It's probably really cheap now. We should go get it.
Of course, they also asked in the interview, does Suitless Samus, have any fart power? And then everyone laughed.
Okay. I think that's it for the Wii.
Now, there's one more character. Now, the video...
Oh, right.
The video they showed, and I have a sad anecdote from my work about this, but they showed the video of all these characters, and then it ended, but the lights didn't come on. And then it showed some Metal Gear action of, like, Solid Snake talking to someone.
On the radio, as Solid Snake is wont to do.
And then it shows Solid Snake in his box in Smash Brothers, and yes, he's a character in Smash Brothers.
Oh my God, Solid Snake.
Apparently, this isn't a matter. People asked a lot, like, so did you ask Kojima, or how did this happen? And they were like, Kojima begged us to have him in the first one for the GameCube. It was just too late. So we promised we'd put it in the next one, and now we did.
Oh my God.
Like, they wanted Solid Snake in it, and Kojima wanted Solid Snake in it. No one involved did not want Solid Snake in this game. And the best part is that at work, there's this one guy at work whose son is really interested.
Said, who's Solid Snake?
I said,
why is that guy in a box?
I said, Pit, Solid Snake, and Meta Knight are the new characters of Smash Brothers. And he said, who?
Yep.
And I said, Pit from Kid Icarus. He said, what? I said, you probably don't know who Meta Knight is. He said, no. And then I said, Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid. And he said, oh, you mean Snake.
Solid Snake.
These newfangled kids have they don't recognize him as Solid Snake, because in the games, the voice acting, they just call him Snake usually. They don't call him Solid Snake every time. So when I said Solid Snake, he had no idea who I was
the other
talking
guy?
about.
Super Joe? No, who's the
What?
Other, no, who's the guy? The other guy?
Gray Fox?
No,
Big Boss?
There's a fourth guy.
From which game?
Metal Gear 1.
Metal Gear 1, there's a whole bunch of guys.
There was another guy with a funny name. I forget his name.
They all have funny names.
I know. But there was one in particular that I liked. I forget.
The Ocelot guy?
No,
he's not in Metal
Solid
Gear 1.
He's in Solid 1.
Yeah.
Not regular Metal Gear 1.
Machine Gun, what's his name? Billy, I think?
No, forget it.
Yeah. Big Boss I didn't like so much.
No, Big Boss no good.
He was a bastard.
Yep. One last thing about the Wii. I just saw a video online where a guy took a camera and went from the beginning to the end of the line for all the people waiting to use a Wii.
We have two things to say about this video.
Number one, the line was insanely long.
The video is over 2 minutes long, and it moves in kind of fast forward walking down the line.
Yeah, so it's a long line. See it for yourself. Just go on YouTube and search for Wii line. Maybe I'll put it on the forum.
Number two, the sheer number of DSs seen in the line is staggering.
There are probably more DSs in the line than there were Wiis they were waiting to play.
There are probably more DSs in line than there are people at every other booth at E3.
No, I don't think so.
At any booth. I could make a semantic argument.
At any little booth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't see a single PSP in the line.
Of course, it was hard to tell for sure.
It was hard. Yeah.
PSPs are all black and stealthy. We might not have seen it.
That is true. There could have been PSPs in the line that were hiding.
However, it's weird. It's like you can tell the DS people because there's always
You didn't even
circle
need to know they had DSs because you see 6 guys standing in a circle facing each other
with their shoulders hunched over.
With their shoulders up and their hands up near their torsos, and you know they all have DSs and they're playing Mario Kart /Tetris /something.
Yep, and we paused it once to check, and yep, look, the DS is all around.
Yep.
But seriously, this line.
Oh, God, this line was long.
I've stood in shorter lines to ride crazy new roller coasters at Cedar Point.
To be perfectly honest, no matter how much I want to use the Wii, I wouldn't have waited in that line. I would have gone and with like a little binocular to get looks at all the games from far away, and I wouldn't have actually gone to use a Wii. I might have gone to use some DSs in the Nintendo booth, and look at the other things in the Nintendo booth. Like
I would have been like that one guy who said, I'm just going to do everything else at E3.
Yep, absolutely everything else. Plus, if I went to E3, the stuff that I would want to look at the most isn't the major stuff that you're going to see on the internet. It's all that little stuff in the back alleys with all the independent developers that you'll never, ever, ever see coverage of anywhere. All the secret stuff. That's
you're not going to go see Paris Hilton talking about her new game?
Her new cell phone game? No.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Microsoft.
All right, they put on a surprisingly good show.
Yeah, I thought that Microsoft was going to just announce a bunch of new games like Halo 3 and shit, and that would be that because their console's already out and it's already done. First, everyone expected they announced the HD DVD player. They didn't say how much it's going to cost or anything, but it's going to be an HD DVD player that you can buy and plug into your Xbox 360 to watch HD DVDs.
Yep, there's been speculation that it'll be between $100 and maybe $200 at most.
Which is cheaper than an HD DVD player, but of course you have to add the price of a 360. The thing is,
That's still cheaper than an HD DVD player.
well, the thing is, if you already have a 360 from last year and the HD DVD player comes out holiday season this year, if you're looking and you already have a 360, are you going to buy a PS3 or are you going to buy the HD DVD player?
Yeah.
Ah.
Wait a minute. Is a chance Blu-ray will succeed and then you have to buy it anyway?
There is also a chance maybe Microsoft will release new 360s that have HD DVD players built in instead, which I think would be really smart of them to do, like starting next year, making the new premium bundle have the HD DVD player.
Because
and then,
by then, the price of HD DVD will come down a lot.
then bring the old premium down in price. And then I would buy the old premium at that point because I don't need an HD DVD player, That's not something they said they would do. That's something I said they should do just now.
Yeah.
So
But anyway, the list of games that they came out with, in addition to all the other stuff, it really is enough for us to, at least for me, to consider when the second gen of the Xbox 360 comes out.
One of those games was kind of bled, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about the rest of the system stuff first.
All right.
There's going to be a camera, sort of like the iToy. Now, what's the use of that? Well, obviously, they could potentially make iToy-like games.
Obviously, when I'm playing Halo, there will be a picture of my penis on my guy.
No, it's a video. It's like a webcam. So as you're playing Halo, people, you push the button to talk, people can see you talking.
We'll see how well that gets used. How many people are just going to be naked or the camera's pointing at a penis?
It's going to be awesome. A wireless headset. Now, right now, the headset for the Xbox 360, I think, is wired, and it's kind of, it's like a big headset. This thing looks more like one of the Bluetooth headsets for a cell phone, where it just goes on one ear and has a little tiny microphone.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not anything special or innovative in and of itself, but it's definitely the next step in terms of technology and awesome.
It's a significant improvement to the current Xbox 360 headset, and the headset is very key to the Xbox Live experience.
Yes, I mean, for whatever anyone has to say about Microsoft, Xbox Live is a very slick thing.
Yeah, very slick.
I mean, early on, I remember, Microsoft is making a console.
Yeah, I was the same way.
And even Penny Arcade were like, Microsoft is making a console.
Oh my god, this thing is gigantic. These controllers are terrible. Oh my god.
But really, the Xbox Live is cool, and it's pretty well done.
Yeah. I like in the original Xbox, and currently there really aren't so many games I want to play besides the racing games for it.
Yep.
But the way Xbox Live works, it's sort of like the Nintendo Wi-Fi in that just having it there really adds a lot to the games. But it seemed to me like the PS3 internet thing might, be similar. But from what it looked like, that was more of a push for Sony's content, their movies and music. And a lot more of that and a lot less of the gaming type stuff.
Yeah, Sony really hyped up you'll be able to download things to your PS3 to watch.
Yep.
And
Microsoft supposedly is going to have downloadable HD movie type stuff too.
Yeah, well, my analysis is this. SOE, Sony Online Entertainment, is crap.
Well, Sony Online Entertainment is the company that does EverQuest. That has nothing to do with the PlayStation.
Yeah, but they will have something to do, possibly, with the online functionality of the PS3.
No one said that. Where are you getting that from?
I'll find the link. Someone was talking about the developers from them or something.
Maybe they're making an MMO that'll be on the PS3. Because all Sony Online Entertainment does is make MMOs, like Star Wars Galaxies and EverQuest and shit.
And they got to make an MMO for this thing.
Maybe. Probably. But no one said they have anything to do with the Sony internetness.
I think it was a comment on Slashdot.
Maybe someone doesn't know what they're talking about.
We'll see.
All right, now here's the best thing about the Xbox 360 in Scott's opinion.
The best thing.
Remember how I was talking about how all I really want is racing games? They got this official Xbox 360 wireless wheel coming.
It's cool.
It's a really, really good racing wheel. And most systems in the past have had racing wheels that you could buy. The problem is that the racing wheels are almost always third-party. The GameCube and PlayStation, I think there was actually a Logitech racing wheel that was labeled the official racing wheel. But it's still a third-party product.
They're the kind of useless and crap or not really well tuned to the
and not every game supports it properly. But Microsoft releasing an official racing wheel is going to mean that the major racing games, which are Forza and Project Gotham and some others, are going to support this wheel properly.
Now this is big because I like realistic racing games. Forza is very realistic as it is.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a wheel that is calibrated to that game and the developers made the game with that wheel in mind, that's gold. It's gold, Jerry.
Yep. Now, here's the thing about the wheel. It's like a typical racing wheel. You clamp it down to a table, but you don't need to plug it in to your system or anything. It's wireless.
Oh, wireless.
I think it might need a battery or two.
It'll have to, because I almost guarantee it'll have force feedback.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about the force feedback, all right? It will rumble and whatnot with just the battery. And there are pedals, too, that are also wireless, and I guess those need a battery as well. If you wanted to have actual force feedback, right now people are saying you need to plug it into a power outlet to get the force feedback to work. Now, that's a minus. But at least you don't have to plug it into the system, which means you can still sit all the way across the room as long as there's an outlet on your side of the room.
And at least that is optional.
Yep. So if you can't find an outlet near you, you can still drive. You just want to have your awesome force feedback.
What, your house doesn't have the holes?
The holes, Jerry.
The holes,
Jerry. The
yeah,
holes.
It's been Seinfeld day for us. We've just been making Seinfeld
Of course,
jokes.
you made the same holes joke 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, we made it during the day, all day, holes jokes.
So Scott is all about the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 for racing games. The Xbox 360 looks to be the cheaper, more realistic solution, and now it has a racing wheel.
Yeah.
Plus for Scott.
Now, there's also a lot of talk about this Shadowrun game.
We're not getting to the Shadowrun game yet.
Why not?
Because we're not done talking about the system
What
yet.
else is there? I didn't see anything else that I cared about.
Because you didn't look at other stuff.
Because I didn't care about much beyond racing games and Shadowrun.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be this thing called Live Anywhere, where Xbox Live will not just be for the Xbox. It's actually Microsoft Live, I guess. Oh, no, Microsoft Live is that other thing. I don't know.
So what are they going to call it?
It's called Live Anywhere, and what it's going to do is basically integrate your Live account across your phone and your Windows Vista computer and everything.
Uh-huh.
And what they showed using this was that they were going to do simultaneous releases of, the same game on Vista and the Xbox at the same time. And the things they talked about were people playing Halo 2 on the computer and on the Xbox competing against each other.
Well, that's the end of people playing FPSs on the console because the PC people just kick their asses with a keyboard and a mouse.
Well, they said, in fact, this is a quote from the Microsoft guy, we'll settle what's better, the keyboard, mouse, or gamepad once and for all. And they showed a screen where, it was a list of guys joining a game, and some of them had PC icons and some of them had Xbox icons. It seems like Microsoft is really going to integrate its... the Xbox is pretty much going to be a Windows gaming machine, and Vista is also going to be capable of being a Windows gaming machine.
Well, from a business perspective, they really have to do something like this because... Despite the fact that the Xbox does really well, it does lose some money. I mean, they sunk a lot of money in R&D into the Xbox franchise.
The first one, at least.
Yeah. And the second one will probably make money because now it's the second gen is popular, but they're still subsidizing the hardware, most likely.
Well, everyone subsidizes the hardware.
Yeah, but they may be... there's speculation that
they make the money back on the games. It's a razor blade deal.
But as far as Vista, there's a lot of talk that Vista isn't going to do so well. For a number, the corporations aren't really jumping over themselves to get this thing.
Well, here's the thing. PC games are kind of going bleh, right? We've talked about this before.
Yep.
People like me and a lot of other people are going to Macs and they're going to Linux because Windows is kind of bleh. But the only thing we really want Windows for is the games. And so we keep Windows around for those games. Super hardcore gamer guys are always going to do the super PC game thing with 2 video cards and crazy processors and Alienware machines just because there's no way...
Alienware, you mean Dell machines?
All right, yeah. Dell XPS machines, which is actually what Microsoft used or had on stage for their demos.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Right. Because the PC will always have better graphics, it'll always have better frame rate, it'll always have all that stuff for all those games. And that's what this ultra-hardcore guys do. Who's the most famous gamer in the world? What's his name?
Thresh?
No. The Fatality guy.
Wow, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and what does he do? He plays PC games. He doesn't play Nintendo games or PlayStation games or Xbox games. He plays PC games.
To me, the most famous gamer is I Eat Poo.
Yeah. Way to go, I Eat Poo.
I heard he got knocked off the top.
Yeah.
Someone beat him.
Oh, no. But, I mean, look, if you look around the world, too, consoles are really big in Japan and the U.S., and different consoles are big in different parts of the world. But South Korea is pretty much PC game land. China, PC game land. Europe, mostly PC game land.
South America, Sega Genesis land.
Yeah, China, PC game land. PC games are big internationally. And Microsoft is doing two things that are really helping this out. People like us who really like PC games but don't have Windows anymore, and there aren't enough PC games to really justify us having a Windows PC that costs $1 bajillion. The Xbox 360 is becoming the just Windows games machine.
Now, this is part of the reason I'm really thinking about getting one as time goes on.
Yeah, it's not something I'll get right away. It's maybe something we'll get on the first price drop or two. You know what I mean? If I get a Wii and Rim gets into 360, then it'll be a fair deal. Unlike when I got a GameCube and he got a nothing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thing is, I don't know if I would buy an Xbox unless we went 50-50, because it's still a lot of money. I'm cheap. I'm a cheap bastard.
You are real cheap. But the point is,
my investment into the Wii is going to consist of me buying myself a controller, like I did for the GameCube. I have my controller, and that's it.
Mine's going to be green.
No, mine's going to be green.
Well, we're going to get confused, aren't we? But the other thing, I was talking about internationalness. They're going to have Microsoft Live, whatnot, and Xboxes sold in South Africa, Chile, India, Brazil, Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia. Those countries are notorious for complaining about getting games way after everyone else and having a lot of gamers in them.
They're mostly ignored by the entire gaming industry.
Well, they're not ignored. It's just they're delayed. Like, there's a lot of gamers in South Africa. Like, I've heard podcasts of South African gamers.
They're not the target. They're a secondary market.
There aren't enough people there to have the stuff shipped as early as everyone else. So they get stuff months and months and months, even after Europe gets them.
Yep, and Europe gets stuff late and overpriced as it is.
So now Microsoft, pretty much the only company who could do this, is because you can get PC games to any. That's the thing about PC games; they get everywhere all at once. Look at Steam; everyone gets Half-Life 2 at the same time, and it gets it in every language in every country. That's why you always end up fighting some Dutch guy in CS or some Swedish guy. They kick your ass. Microsoft is going to get Xbox out to all those countries at the same time, and some people might have Vista and they'll just play on their PC, and some people have a 360 and play on their 360 if they're poorer, and that's going to be big. On your DS it says play worldwide. That just means play against guys in Japan and Britain.
Yeah.
The Xbox Live is going to really be worldwide play. It's, PC gaming I don't think we'll see a big resurgence. But what it'll be is the third platform will be Windows gaming as opposed to PC gaming. And you'll be able to do your Windows gaming on a 360 or on a PC with Vista. And I'll probably not do it on a PC with Vista because Vista's not going to be good.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons that we've talked about.
And a PC with Vista will be a lot more money than an Xbox, which is only going to go down in price from here on out.
Now, it's interesting that Nintendo, it's obvious what their strategies are, and it looks very interesting. And Microsoft is doing this sort of thing. Sony's not really doing anything new. They're just doing more of the same.
Well, I think Sony's strategy is to, be what everyone else is all in one. They're like, we're going to be the Wii and the 360. We can do everything that everyone else does and beat them all. Because the problem is it's basically a shitty Wii plus a shitty 360 combined add a lot of horsepower.
Power of shit. Power of obsolescence.
And...
All right, I got to rip on the PS3 one more time.
God damn.
Have you seen pictures of it?
Yeah.
It looked that someone described it as a Victorian era waffle iron. It's bigger than the Xbox.
Yeah, it's real big and real heavy.
The original Xbox, not the new one.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
It's weighs, I think, like twice as much as the original Xbox?
It weighs a lot.
Yeah.
It probably is comparable to the weight of my computer.
And this isn't just, a lot of this is our opinion that, you might think that a giant PS3 is great. But the general internet No, there isn't a lot of people short of super PlayStation fanboys who are saying good things about Sony. Everyone is saying bad things about Sony. There hasn't been positive news about Sony in years. You remember the rootkits and everything? It's just...
Yeah, don't forget,
people have gotten...
Sony infected their computers with their users, their customers with viruses because they think they're criminals.
Yeah, so Sony is just... Everyone loves to bash Sony, and they keep bashing them lately, and they're going to continue to bash them. The general feeling of the game media is that Sony is acting arrogantly, and they're relying on their name recognition to just carry their dominance over into the next generation and not actually realizing they need to be better than everyone else, and we'll see how it turns out.
Now compare that to the buzz about Microsoft, which after the Xbox 360 was announced and then it was released and then it sold out, the buzz disappeared and no one really talked about it. But now that E3 has come around again, the buzz is back and it's neutral to positive.
Yeah.
There's very little negative buzz about Microsoft. Sony's really the only company that
and
has
people
negative buzz.
love to bash Microsoft,
Yeah.
especially Linux guys like us, and we're not.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? And, of course, the line to see the Wii. You can't deny this video of it. How can you deny?
Yeah, 5 minutes versus 6 hours. There's something.
And the clapping at the Nintendo conference versus the Sony. You can't deny. There it is, black and white. If you deny this, then you might as well believe that, very heavily autistic kids can talk to you and type to you.
Yeah, we're not saying the PS3 is a bad platform. We're saying Sony is a bad company and they're doing stupid things.
They're doing very stupid things, and I predict they'll get their asses handed to them.
Because the PSP is a cool piece of equipment.
And the press is saying very bad things about them.
Yeah, the mainstream press.
Yep.
I mean, investment types are saying the PS3 is so overpriced, no one's going to buy it.
Yep. All right, let's start talking about Xbox games.
All right, Shadowrun. I want to talk about Shadowrun.
Okay, talk about Shadowrun.
All right, there were rumblings that I hadn't really heard until just now, recently, about a Shadowrun game for the Xbox.
Well, that was at their press conference.
Yeah.
So, before the press conference, someone saw something on it in the being prepared show floor that said Shadowrun on it.
Yep, and then it exploded on the internet as Shadowrun. That's all I know. And then we found out. And now a lot of fans of Shadowrun have been complaining, saying that they ruined Shadowrun.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to shed a little bit of my own light on that. For anyone who's never played Shadowrun, it is a role-playing game system, like Dungeons & Dragons, Forgotten Realms, say, or Dragonlance. It is a system coupled with a universe.
Mm-hmm.
The universe has a history that has come out from the base books, plus the source books, plus the novels, and all that stuff, like every gaming world has.
Yep.
It is incredibly convoluted, difficult to follow, full of a million things. It is cyberpunk, futurism, magic shamanism, dragons, net hacking, flying through cyberspace, astral projections, gods and shaman totems, politics, everything, all rolled into one.
But it's mostly dark.
Yes, it's very dark and dystopian.
Yeah, so while it's everything, it's not light and happy anyway, really.
Now, people are complaining that the game that's going to be coming out for the Xbox, which they didn't actually tell us that much about it, other than that it's going to exist. They're changing the plot line, the history of the Shadowrun world a bit to make the game work. The details are unimportant because if you care about Shadowrun, you already know, and if you don't care, you already don't care. But they're pushing some history events out, and they're kind of changing the timeline. And there's a giant uproar among the hardcore fans of Shadowrun.
All right, well, that's slightly different from what I was reading. What I was reading, that people were upset that the game was not going to be in any way similar to the SNES game. It is going to be a squad-based combat game.
Why would anyone complain about that? The SNES game was cool, but it was pretty terrible, all things considered.
People apparently wanted an RPG game and not a squad-based combat game because apparently there's squad-based combat games up the wazoo.
Yeah, that's true.
2, people are saying, at least the quotes that I saw in 2 places, that this wasn't a slight changing of the Shadowrun history. This was...
Oh, it's a fairly big change, but it's still...
People are saying that they completely threw out everything Shadowrun, and the only thing this has in common with Shadowrun is the name, and why did they buy the license just for the name to sell the game if they're not going to actually use any of the other stuff?
Well, I don't think they threw everything out. It's that the type of game it is doesn't really behoove... You don't care about a lot of the history of the game if you're making a game that's mostly based on the combat. You don't care about
then why that people are saying why have the Shadowrun? I'm just saying what people are saying.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really care.
Yeah,
why have the Shadowrun license for a game that doesn't need it if you're not going to use it? You're just putting a name on it to try and sell it.
I submit two things. One, the name will sell. Two, the world it comes from has a lot of fodder from which to make a game.
Yeah, the thing is, people are saying they're not using the fodder.
Yet. Three, buy the license once, then, use it again, make more games about Shadowrun. Maybe this game is very generic to test the waters of what do people think of Shadowrun type games.
But the thing is that if you put the label Shadowrun on a game, that says you're trying to sell a game is going to sell to whatever people it's going to sell to normally. Putting the Shadowrun label on a game means you're paying money to get that label in order to sell it to all the people who would buy anything with the name Shadowrun.
See, now I don't think
if you don't make a game that pleases those people, you're only going to piss them off.
But the thing is, there aren't that many Shadowrun people. I love Shadowrun, but I didn't play it since high school.
Well, that's not what the internet seems to be happening. All these Shadowrun things, there are people coming out of the work everywhere commenting on this.
Oh, they are, but I mean,
if people didn't play Shadowrun, all the comments would have been
people play it.
If people didn't know what Shadowrun was, people would say, "What the fuck is Shadowrun? Why do we care that there's a Shadowrun game?"
Keep in mind that most of the people who came out really angrily are the dedicated fans of Shadowrun. People who aren't fans of Shadowrun don't know much about it and don't care.
It seems that but why put the label on it? If you put the label on it, you're not going to get people who aren't fans of Shadowrun to buy it. Putting the label on it means we are going to pay money to sell this game to hardcore fans of Shadowrun. If you make it in such a way the hardcore fans of Shadowrun won't like it, they're not going to buy it, and you just spent money on a label you could have avoided spending money on.
One, they probably got the license pretty cheap.
Well,
because
I think Microsoft actually owns the FASA Corporation.
Yeah, hence. Shadowrun doesn't make much money. Our pen and paper games in general are not doing well. Dungeons & Dragons is far and away still the champion.
Mm-hmm.
And Shadowrun really died for a long time for a while after Second Ed came out.
Yes,
and it
the
revitalized.
pen and paper game died, but apparently knowledge of the universe and interest in it is not dead because...
Oh, it's not dead.
There are articles everywhere that said they're going to make a Shadowrun game, and if people didn't know what Shadowrun was or care about it, they would have said, "What the hell is Shadowrun?"
I didn't say it's dead.
But there are thousands of people going, "Oh my God, Shadowrun! Woo!"
What I'm saying is that a lot of people I think a lot of these people are like me. I played Shadowrun a long time ago, and I loved it. And then it kind of died, and I couldn't play it, but I still know about it, and I like it. And I've always wanted something to come back with it. And now something's coming back with it. The name rekindles these things, even though people don't play it so much now.
Yeah, but the people who know the name, if they care about that name, they know something about it. And being nerdy, as only someone who knows about Shadowrun is going to be nerdy, they don't like it when you mess with what it was. If I release a game and I put the Star Wars name on it, and it doesn't have lightsabers and X-Wings and TIE fighters...
You mean like Star Wars Galaxies?
People aren't going to like that game.
Star Wars Galaxies?
And they're going to yell at me.
Which was just people dancing in the desert?
Exactly.
See, I guess I'm a Shadowrun fan, but I don't really care much for the timeline because it's mostly kind of silly and convoluted.
I'm not saying it's not silly. I'm just saying this is akin to someone buying the Star Wars label, putting it on a game, and then taking out all the Star Wars stuff. It's like you're putting the Star Wars label means you're going to try to sell it to Star Wars fans. And if you don't have Star Wars stuff, they're purposefully not going to buy it because of the type of people fans are.
I think the game's going to do fine, and I'll bet this is only going to be the first of a string of Shadowrun games, and I'll bet at least one of them will be an RPG at some point.
Well, judging by the internet talk about it, it's a mixed bag.
We'll see until people actually get their hands on the game.
Yeah,
I just have this feeling. This is a complete gut hunch that the game will do well. This is a hunch like Mr. What's-It from Scotland Yard is hiding in the subway.
Yeah, we'll see. Halo 3.
Meh.
Yeah, should we do the Halo rant we always do, or should we just sum it up really quickly?
Real quick, Halo is not innovative or new or good. It is doing things now that PCs did with FPSs almost a decade ago.
Basically, what happened in the history of FPSs is people grew up playing FPSs, and they played Quake and everything, and they were real FPS players. Then there was GoldenEye, which was the console FPS, which is not much compared to the PC FPS, but because it was on a console and it was 4-player, it didn't need to have everything the PC FPSs had.
Yep. I mean, compared to a PC game, it was piss poor. But for a console FPS, it was great.
Yeah, and it's still one of the greatest console FPSs. So what happened is you eventually got to Counter-Strike, and the whole thing stagnated and kind of, stayed still for a long time.
Yeah, it didn't die by far. Counter-Strike is still played by a lot of freaking people. It's one of the biggest games.
Yep. But when Halo came out, it was like the resurgence of FPSing, because there was finally an FPS that was accessible to a lot of people. The thing is, people who played real FPSs like Counter-Strike and shit was like, most of them were like, Halo is crap. And I found this out because most of the people I knew who played Halo were either younger or people who weren't big into real FPSs. And my brother, who was the Halo age, yet he played Counter-Strike because he was my brother, was like, yeah, Halo sucks.
Yep, I mean, I remember playing Halo, and it was just really, really generic and kind of dumb.
I mean, Tribes 2 is better than Halo by a hajillion.
Tribes 2 is probably, in my opinion, the best FPS
I
ever
played
made.
the Halo 1 PC demo, I remember, and even with the mouse and keyboard, it was just this really easy walk-around shoot guys game, and it was kind of bleh. And I know the multiplayer, you can have a lot of fun with vehicles and stuff, but Unreal Tournament, I played Unreal Tournament 2007 demo, and that was a lot more fun than Halo multiplayer.
But still, to Halo's credit, it brought a lot of new people into the FPS genre.
It's basically the easy FPS for wussies, and real FPS players play something else, and all the Halo noobs play Halo.
Well, the thing is, people haven't really moved on in the FPS world in PCs because the best games are still Counter-Strike.
Yeah, they're standing still. So it's like there's two tiers of FPS playing, and Halo is the lower tier. It's like the entry-level FPS.
Now, I wonder, I mean, it's hard to make a PC-like FPS on a console, mostly because you don't have a keyboard and mouse. You don't have the ability to change the game as easily over time with updates.
You can't have really complex controls because there are only so many buttons. So you can't give people jetpacks and a billion weapons and a bunch of sidearm grenades and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, if anyone out there thinks Halo is complex, I dare you. I double dog dare you to play Weapons Factory or Mega TF without a whole bunch of crazy scripts to run your freaking character for you while you're running around.
Yeah.
You would have like 20 keys bound to 20 esoteric
Heck,
weird
just
things.
Tribes 2 is complex enough.
Tribes 2 had its own scripting language.
Well,
It was just...
the engine has a scripting language
Yeah.
that's pretty much C++ because the way it's written.
Yeah, which was great compared to frickin' not Half-Life wasn't so bad, but Quake 2, where you had to write in this stupid, obtuse, barely work scripting language that was laggy and buggy and crap.
Mm-hmm.
But you needed to do it to play these games. They were so complex.
All right. Now, there was something mentioned, I think, Grand Theft Auto 4. Now, what happened was, I'm sure everyone has seen on the internet, the Xbox guy, what he did is he was like, he said something he was trying to make a joke, and he said, like, girly men have rubber duckies, referring to Sony using a rubber duck in all their demos. And he's like, real men get tattoos. And he shows he had a tattoo for Halo 2. And on his other arm, he had a tattoo for Grand Theft Auto 4. I think someone else is doing a job of finding out whether the tattoos are real or not.
I saw on a report someone said that they are real.
Wow.
But the report was someone asked him if they were real, and he said yes. Which may or may not be true.
Tattoo professionals say the Grand Theft Auto one was the white color used in it was a lot brighter than any tattoo can be. So they speculated as to whether it was painted over to be brighter or if it just wasn't real at all. Well, it remains to be seen.
We'll find out a year from now if he still got it.
Now, Grand Theft Auto 4, they said sometime around the end in 2007, so it's a ways off. But what we know about it is we don't think it's going to be exclusive to the Xbox 360. However, it's going to come out for the Xbox 360 before it comes out for anything else. It might come out for the PlayStation 3 and the PC on the same day as it comes out for the 360, but it's guaranteed that when it comes out, the day it comes out, it'll be available on the 360 for sure.
Yeah, this seems to be a new trend in exclusivity because you can't really... Exclusive games aren't really good for the people who make the games. They're good for the people who have the consoles.
So you have to usually pay, the developer to make the game exclusive to you. Now, what Microsoft is doing is they sort of made a compromise, it seems, with Rockstar, because Rockstar doesn't want their game to be exclusive to the Xbox 360 unless the PlayStation 3 bombs. Then they don't care.
Yeah.
Because that means less sales for them. So what it seems they've done is they made a deal with Rockstar where if you play on the 360, you're going to get some exclusive levels and things extra. Through Xbox Live, of course.
Now, as much as I don't always like that sort of thing, it's definitely better than locking into one console.
Yep.
It's better for gamers.
It is better for gamers who want to play Grand Theft Auto 4. I don't want to play it. However, what it's going to do is it's going to do a Soul Calibur 2 effect. Soul Calibur 2 was on every system, but the GameCube was the system to play it on because it had Link. Grand Theft Auto 4 will be on all the, the systems, but the Xbox will be the system to play it on because it has these downloads.
Yep. Now, I wouldn't be surprised long term if they made some sort of special Grand Theft for the Wii. With the Wii controller, they could do something.
They could. I don't know.
Drive-bys, I don't know.
Rockstar seems to be the kind of company that won't do it unless a lot of people buy Wiis.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people will.
Yep, but the other thing is the people who buy Wiis aren't going to, Nintendo's like, yeah, you hardcore people aren't going to buy Wiis. Grandmas and kids and everyone else and girls are going to buy Wiis. So
it's more me hoping than me expecting.
Yep. So those people aren't the types to buy Grand Theft Auto.
But Rockstar's smart. I mean, they make games that make them a lot of money. So if there's a market for that sort of thing, you can bet they'll do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Microsoft really seems to be expanding the Xbox Live arcade deal. There was something about Lumines Live. I guess you'd play Lumines on your Xbox and your cell phone and whatever, and there'd be some sort of, something with the webcam. I don't know. No one really talked about it that much because no one cares about DDR Universe. So apparently Xbox is the system for DDR.
Yeah, I can see us downloading new songs.
Hopefully they won't charge for them. That's the thing.
They will. I guarantee it.
Just,
I freaking guarantee they're going to charge money for the songs. They'll have to because the songs are copyrighted.
See, that sounds more like Sony's bag, charging for the songs in a DDR game.
But I don't see any way around it because the people who own the music are probably going to be pricks about it.
We'll see. Viva Pinata. Now, when they showed this game, people kind of went grumbly. And then the guy on stage was like, come on, it's an E-rated game. And the crowd's reaction was like, yeah, whatever. It's, from what people say, it looks like an Animal Crossing type of game, which is like, all right, you're trying to copy Animal Crossing, whatever. But all the press people seem to be saying, we weren't not cheering because it was an E-rated game. We weren't cheering because it didn't look that interesting. It looked like ghetto,
it's hard to tell
Animal Crossing with little pinata
It's hard
guys.
to tell what they're trying to do with this game other than maybe steal some of the people who want Animal Crossing over to the Xbox.
Yeah, maybe what's going to happen is people will buy an Xbox and instead of, going out and spending a bunch of money on a Wii for their kids, they'll just buy Viva Pinata for their already existing 360 and then spend the rest of the money they would have spent on a Wii on more 360 stuff for themselves.
Of course, for the price of a PS3, you can just buy an Xbox and a Wii.
Well, no, we don't know how much the Wii costs yet.
I pretty much guarantee you'll be able to buy them both for the price of a PS3.
Yep, people seem to be guaranteeing that. It'll probably be true.
In fact, Microsoft themselves have come out and basically said, yeah, Sony sucks. You should buy a Wii
See,
and
that's
an Xbox.
the thing. Is remember how before I was saying Sony it does the same thing as a Wii, only crappier, and does the same thing as a 360, only crappier. That would work out if the PS3 cost less than both of the systems combined, because then it's like, I can get both for less. But this is, why get something that does two things and each thing it does is shittier when I can get both of those things to the max separately for the same price or even less?
And this is Microsoft talking, because they don't care if Nintendo is successful or not.
It's like cell phone cameras work because it's cheaper than the price of a cell phone and a camera, and combining them is good because you have your cell phone everywhere with you, so now you have a camera everywhere with you, and the camera all of a sudden becomes more useful. Having a Wii combined with an Xbox Live is sort of useful, the same way having a camera on your phone is useful. But if for the same price as a camera phone, you can get a camera and a phone, then the camera phone doesn't work.
Yep. Of course, Nintendo wins all around because people could own a PS3 and a Wii, or an Xbox and a Wii. Not many people are going to own Xbox and a PS3.
Not many, no.
Because the games are going to mostly overlap. Aside from the exclusives, every third-party game is going to come out on both systems.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that could actually be a really bad point for Sony because, yeah, the PlayStation 3 has better graphics capabilities, right?
Yep.
But if a third party makes a game for the Xbox and the PS3, they're going to make damn well sure it runs on the Xbox. And I don't know how much extra effort they're going to put into making it look better on the PS3.
They make it look better. If you look at history of all the millions of games that are released on the PS2 and the Xbox, people almost always put in the extra effort to make it look better on the more powerful system.
However,
and whenever they don't,
back then the extra effort was easier. Everyone keeps saying it's hellishly hard to do anything with the PS3 development-wise.
I still think, what happens is if you don't make your game if you release a game for a bunch of systems and it doesn't look better on the more powerful system, all the press yells at you and gives you a worse review. Game developers will put in as much extra effort as they feel necessary, as they have always done.
Yeah, but we'll see how much extra effort. Because the PS3 scales, and there are a lot of levels of effort you can put in.
They'll do it until it becomes, cost prohibitive. The rest of the Xbox 360 games were kind of normal. The sports games, a lot of games that would have been PC games but are now going to be PC/360 games, which is what the 360 is all about.
A lot of people also pointed out that the buzz at E3 is that people were saying, yeah, the PS3 is more powerful, but the Xbox games looked better.
Yeah, well,
that's interesting.
The thing is that you didn't see a lot of PS3 games.
We saw a lot of FMVs.
You saw a lot of FMVs. You saw a lot of FMVs and bullshots for the 360 also.
Yep.
But there was gameplay footage that was seen, and the opinion of most people is that right now, a lot of the PS3 footage doesn't look that much better than the 360 at games themselves.
Yep, I really think they're diminishing in returns.
And if you're someone like us who doesn't care about graphics, what matters is all the other stuff, where Microsoft has a distinct advantage.
Yeah. Of course, we don't even have HD TV, so for us, we don't care at all.
Nope, I could care less if it had HD. So, the fact that the PS3 is 1080 whatever and the 360 is 720 doesn't mean anything to me. I'm going to be doing 480i. All right. All the rest of the games are sequels, franchises, licenses, usual type of games you see.
Yep. The only last thing we really would have talked about, but I don't have much to say about it, even though some people have asked, is Will Wright's Spore.
Yeah, this is what I know about Will Wright's Spore, because I don't pay attention to PC games so much because I'm a Linux guy. It's going to be a PC game. If you don't know, Will Wright is the SimCity cool guy. He makes good games.
You make a little creature, and then you breed it and evolve it.
Yeah, it's like you start out with a bacteria or a protozoa, and you can make decisions and modify it, and over time it evolves and grows, and eventually you get a society, and you can see the effects carry through all the way to the end of the game. So if you give your protozoa 3 little feelers, now your people, when they evolve into an advanced life form, now that advanced life form has 3 arms.
You have to mate them, and you have to deal with Darwin.
You have to develop your whole society now around the fact that your guys have 3 arms, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
We don't really yet even know too much about the game. There's a lot of
I could have read some more
it.
articles about it, but
I did.
I had to do the show.
I read the article where they had some people who were at his little presentation thing, and I didn't really gain much from it. The game's not ready yet.
It sounds like it might be a fun game.
The people basically seem to say that it's a sandbox game that is also kind of a Sim Earth, Sim Galaxy.
Yeah, hopefully not a Sim Ant.
Sim Ant was awesome, and by awesome I mean it was awesome for 5 minutes, and then you'd already done everything you could ever do in the game.
Here's hoping that Spore is fun, and here's hoping that it's not just a Windows game that I'll never play.
I think we'll have to wait until there's more info about it, or maybe until we get it and play it before we can say much.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try to read some more stuff about it, and we'll do a quick preview on a future Tuesday.
But for that, Scott's hacking up a storm here. I think he's getting sick or something, but...
Oh, everyone's going to love to hear that, because I haven't been sick in how long?
Nah, a little while.
Yeah, because I don't get sick very often. This is a rare event. No podcasting will be lost over this unless I am hospital ill.
Yeah, but he's over there hacking and coughing. Is making it kind of annoying, so we'll just stop here.
I think we covered all the E3 stuff anyway. You remember you can figure out all the other stuff that happened at E3 by going to all the gaming websites. IGN and whatnot has all the info. GameSpot, E3Buzz.com is really good. I've been using that a lot for the past week or so.
Yep, though if you haven't been following it, it's kind of intimidating to go there from scratch, because now you don't know anything. If I go there now, it's like, oh, there's a new thing. Oh, there's a new thing.
Yep, but if you haven't been going there all along, you just see the newest thing, and it's hard to realize what all the old things are.
Yeah.
There are a lot of summaries if you go to Kotaku, Engadget.
Kotaku's your best
Joystick.
bet, in my opinion. Kotaku and Joystick have a lot of just like, oh, here was a cool thing, here's a video, here's a video.
I have to say that Kotaku has the most humorous coverage. They have things like a video of the food and a video of the line. Joystick and Engadget, I think, have the best real serious coverage so far. So check them out if you actually care about things and don't just want to laugh.
All right, and on that note, we're out of here.
That's E3.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.